Hello again, everyone. We'll be getting underway momentarily.
By way of a highly sophisticated and ingenious process, not only will your ship be miniaturized, it will be beamed below the skin of a volunteer.
Will Dr. Humphrey, Dr. Victoria Humphrey, please pick up the epidermal cell scanner from bay number 3?
Body probe Zulu 174 is ready for boarding in bay number 1.
Body probe Sierra 657 is online for miniaturization in bay 3. Condition code green.
WDW Radio, your information station.
Hello, my friends, and welcome to the WDW Radio Show, your Walt Disney World information station. I am your host, Lou Mongello, and this is show number 468, and I'm here once again not only to help you have the best possible Disney vacation experience, but bring you a little bit of Disney magic wherever you are with this podcast, videos, blog, live broadcasts on Facebook every Wednesday night, my books, audio tours, and more. You can find everything over at WDWRadio.com. So I am so grateful to be able to create this show, not just for you, but also with your help. And for the past 10 years, many of you have been involved in many different ways, either as guests or by having your questions answered by me on the air. Well, this week, we're going to combine the two as I answer your questions live. We cover a wide range of topics from many different perspectives, including some questions about me and how I got started, Walt Disney World's history, what was lost and what may be coming in the future, and we may even answer that you might have as well. And then I have the answer to our last Walt Disney World trivia question of the week and pose a new challenge for your chance to win a Disney Prize package. Then stay tuned to the end of the show about upcoming WDW Radio Meet of the Month, including over Marathon Weekend and more. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this week's episode of the WDW Radio Show. So I've always wanted you, my friend, to be involved in the show, not just as a passive listener, but as part of the community and really part of the show itself. And many of you have joined me in the past over the years as guests for Listener Factor Fiction, for live broadcasts from the parks, roundtables, etc. And many more of you have had your questions answered that you submitted via email on the show. This week, I want to try and combine the best, hopefully, of those ideas and have you sit around the table with me virtually and really be part of the conversation as you ask me your questions live. I have no idea what I'm getting myself into tonight, but I want to welcome so many of my friends and members of the WDW Radio Nation to the show. Michael, Father Christopher, another Michael, Tyler, Sean, Terry, Luke, Nikki, Chris, Jennifer, two more. Wow, there's like 18 Michaels in here, but that's okay. We're going to try and go around the horn and get to as many questions as possible. We have not discussed these in advance, so I'm excited and yet a little bit nervous. I still believe in ladies first. My dad raised me right, and now, do I do it alphabetically? I'm going to go on my left to right as we are watching via the live video chat. So, Terry, you are lucky or unlucky to go first. First things first, and this goes to all of you. Thank you all so much for being part of the nation and the family. I sincerely appreciate you and the love and the support that you've given. Terry, I've known you for a number of years, and we are friends in real life, and we've exchanged the multiple handshakes and the hugs. So it is good to have on the call tonight. You get to go with your first question. You can ask anything about the show, Disney, vacation planning, history, me, be gentle, or anything in between. So have at it.
It is about you. I want the story, and I don't want we met in college or something like that, but I would like the actual cute story. Everybody has a story of how they met their spouse. And I am positive that you have a good one. and I would love to hear it.
I was not expecting that one. All right, so I do have a story, and it probably isn't as cute and or romantic as it might be, as you might think. We actually met at work. I come from a very, a circuitous background. I was a lawyer. I had an IT consulting company on the side, and my family was actually involved in the medical imaging field. I was the chief technology officer for a medical imaging company. And my mother, who ran the show there, one day this woman comes in for an interview for an MRI technologist. And as she's leaving, my mother tells her assistant, this girl's going to be in my family someday. Now, mind you, she had some loser boyfriend back at home. I was actually engaged to somebody else, as it were. But she got into a car accident. She goes, oh, you should go see my son. He happens to still be a lawyer, so I helped her with her car accident, and then we never spoke again. Then I got into an accident and had to have an MRI, and she kept me on the table for like 2 hours while the MRI was being done. And then while we were working, on a project for a state inspection, I was really sort of managing a lot of the operations at the time, and she was the head of the imaging department. So we were working together, and I'll never. All right. So the funny part of the story is we're spending a lot of time together, just hanging out, with a bunch of people. And one day it's the company picnic, and unbeknownst to me, a lot of people were trying to get us together. So I'm the captain of one of the softball teams. She's the captain of the other softball teams. Slick Lou Mongello, and if you were seeing my face, you know that I am the farthest thing from slick. I finally get up enough courage as we are switching sides in between innings. I walk up to her and I say, hey, loser buys dinner. She goes, yeah, right, and keeps walking. I was like, well, that's the end of that. But as it were, she ends up stalking me for about a year, and the rest, as they say, is history.
Yay, stalkerism. That's an awesome story. I like it.
All right. Whew. All right. Wasn't where I was expecting you to go first, but okay. All right. We'll go, a little boy, girl. And gosh, there's so many Michaels. I'm going to go Michael Kell up in the, for me, it's like watching Hollywood Squares, because there's about 16 different squares. So circle gets a square up in the top left. Michael Kell, again, longtime friend and member of the nation. Good to see you again, brother. After that question, I am very curious as to where you're going to go next.
Okay, I'm gonna bring you back into your comfort zone. Hey, Walt started everything with familiar stories. He always went to a fairy tale or a familiar book in order to bring his initial movies to the screen. It seems like Disney is kind of rehashing its intellectual properties lately. It sort of got itself trapped in especially in the Marvel universe. They got to do origin stories, and they're basically a couple of classic comic book lines. Star Wars has this expanded universe that it's trying to bring back into canon. So the question is, if you could pick a portion of the parks to reimagine, what original story or series would you like Disney to bring to either the TV or movies to refresh it, to bring something fresh in the park? Think along the lines of Frozen, and they brought in the Frozen ride into Norway.
So I think it's a really interesting question, and that's actually something that would make for just a fun conversation, I think, because I think there are many different opinions, especially if you check on Twitter, of the idea of Disney remaking a lot of the classic films, whether they were animated or live action, whether it's Pete's Dragon, Beauty and the Beast, Dumbo. I think they're going to remake, I think they're still going to remake Sword in the Stone, a lot of the live action films, Cinderella, Maleficent. I think there are some that should never be touched. I think there are some films that just should not necessarily be remade. But I think it's interesting, the idea of taking those classic stories and bringing them to new life again, especially for a new generation. Now, when you talk about it inside the parks, there are, that's interesting because I think there are some attractions that we miss, but I don't know that I would necessarily want them to remake the film or even bring back that classic attraction. So as you were asking the question, and assuming that I may actually have where you want me to go with this correct, one of the things that I thought of, which when I heard that they were remaking the movie, I was skeptical at first, and then I got excited because I think a lot of people won't go back and necessarily watch it because it may seem dated at this time. The same thing for the attraction. It is the one attraction I would bring back. And the film and the attraction I'm talking about is 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. I think it is a classic Walt Disney World attraction. Obviously, you still have a derivation of the version in Disneyland. I loved the film itself. Does it still hold up in 2016, 2017? Maybe not. But you can see the success of some of the films like Jungle Book that have just been remade and captured a whole new audience. And I think Favreau did an exceptional job with that. So I would. The 7-year-old boy and Lou Mangello would love to see the original, now somewhat campy version of the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea attraction come back exactly as it were. And there's also 48 version, older version of Lou Mangello that still has that 7-year-old boy trapped in, that would love to see that film and that story be retold again, not just on screen, but in the parks and in merchandise as well. Did I ever come remotely close to going where you wanted me to go with that?
Yeah, actually, that's a good one. I was thinking also that, for example, Tomorrowland needs a refresh.
Mm-hmm.
So what type of story could you come up with to put into Tomorrowland?
So I think that
to sort of drive folks back there.
I think as we talk in December 2016, again, to quote Hogan's Heroes, I know nothing, but I do believe that Tomorrowland, I know I just dated myself when I said that. I think that Tomorrowland is the next land that is primed for an update, a refresh, a reimagineering, whatever it may be. I think there's a lot of handwriting that's already on the wall, at least to me, that speaks to that. I think the space where the Galaxy Palace Theater once stood, where the Buzz Lightyear meet and greet is prime real estate that can certainly have another attraction there. I think the Tomorrowland Power and Light Company is another large piece of real estate that you can do something in. I think there are some great IPs that you could bring into Tomorrowland depending on what kind of story you want to tell there, right? What is the story of Tomorrowland? Is it still this future that never was? Are they going to change it at all? I think, and again, this is 7-year-old Lou Mangello and 48-year-old Lou Mangello would love a Tron attraction right where the Galaxy Palace Theater is. I have it laid out in my head. Excuse me. The first level would be some sort of virtual, or like they have in Shanghai, even a real type of get on the light cycle. I think the second level could be the end of line club, where you have some sort of cool futuristic thing that you look out over Tomorrowland, and as the people mover would pass right through it. I think that you could bring the Incredibles potentially into Tomorrowland. Let me ask you this, or anybody else can feel free to jump in. Is there anything that you think would fit well or make sense to bring into Tomorrowland as an attraction, as a show, as a current IP maybe?
Well, one of the things that, they're about to release Wrinkle in Time. Again, that, they may be able to bring something out of that series into a time, almost like what was that? The one with Robin Williams.
Flubber?
No, the attraction.
Timekeeper. Interesting. Yeah, this is maybe a question that I'll pose to those who are listening and not participating is, what, if anything, would you like to see come into Tomorrowland, or what direction would you like to see Tomorrowland head into? So, all right, I'm going to move over. We'll go boy, girl as long as we can. So, Nikki, again, thank you for being part of the nation, and welcome to the call tonight. What is your question?
So it's kind of like a personal question, and for, I guess, people who are looking to move to Florida. So I have personally been thinking about moving to Florida for like the past 10 years. My grandfather grew up in out here and then moved to Ocala, Florida, where he retired.
Where is out here?
In Chicago, sorry. Okay. And so for you, when you moved from New Jersey to Florida, did you have a plan? Like, did you and your wife have a job first and then move, or did you just move and then find a job?
All right, so two things. Go Cubbies.
Thank you.
So do as I say, not as I do. Because when I moved to Florida, and originally I was in South Florida for a few years before I moved up to Orlando, when I made my move, I just knew, living in New Jersey, that it was time. There were a lot of things that had just happened in terms of, my business is up there and getting out of the business, and my wife's, mom had just passed. And for me, I sort of just knew, I said, look, if I don't move now, I'm never going to go. If I wait till this happens, till that happens, if I keep waiting for all these things, I'm making excuses and it'll never happen. And I was afraid that 5, 10, 20 years down the road, I'd go, man, I wonder what would have happened if I would have moved when I did. So when I went down to South Florida, I literally went down with, I didn't even know where the house I was going to. My parents rented it for me because they were already down there. I had no job. I had no necessarily a business plan, but I knew that in order for me to start to pursue this thing that I wanted to do in this Disney space, I needed to be where what I do is. So we went down to move into a house sight unseen. My wife, unfortunately, was in the medical field. She was able to get a job at a hospital down there. I was ready to, I said, look, if I have to go, work at whatever retail store, whatever it is, I would, people say, what do you do for a living? I say, whatever it takes. I would do whatever it would have taken. So I think there are a lot, maybe I'm not necessarily answering your question, but the point that I want to make is that I came down not necessarily with all of the answers ahead of time. I didn't have a game plan. I just knew this is where I wanted to be. This is where I had to be. So if there are people who are thinking about moving, a lot of it for me was almost the fear of the time going by, and it would have been too late for me to do it. I'm not sure if I'm really answering your question.
No, it's okay, because I just kind of wanted to know your personal experience, how you eventually moved down there, if you did have a game plan, which you did, but it's just like, okay, I know I have to take this moment or otherwise it's going to pass me by.
Yeah, I mean, I was starting, my business in terms of WDW Radio and what I was doing, that plane was already in flight, but I didn't know how I was going to take things to the next level. I just knew that in order for me to do so, I needed to be here, and I would do whatever I need to do to fill in the gaps to make sure my family eats a couple of times a week so that I could pursue that dream. And if it didn't happen, I could say, okay, at least I gave it the best shot that I possibly could have. Because I really it was that fear of being in New Jersey 20 years later, not happy and fulfilled what I was doing, and saying, man, I wonder what if. So what if, the what if for me was a very, very big motivator.
Gotcha. Perfect. Thank you.
You'll always find a way to make it work. You'll always find a way to make it work. So, so speaking of leaps of faith, bad segue, but to the upper right-hand corner, Father Christopher, it is good to see you. Thank you, as always, for being here. You always are part of the calls and an active member of the nation. Where are you going with your question?
Well, listening to the Christmas episode with Jim Corcus, it made me think about your Wayback Machine. So get your Wayback Machine out.
Uh-oh.
My question is, if you could go back to any year to recapture kind of the experience of Disney World, when would you go back to?
So, as you started to ask that question, my mind went into two different directions. See, I thought it was going to last longer before I started getting all emotional. The first way my mind went was, what would I go back to? And I think about being in, I can see it like it was yesterday, man. I can see myself in Tomorrowland with my parents and a couple of family friends. And I had this red, white, and blue with a patch of Mickey Mouse in the center baseball hat on. And my dad had the same one, and he's carrying me in his arm, and he's got my brother on his shoulders, which I have no idea how he did it. And I could see my mother in her yellow sweater. And I don't know why that memory of being there and asking and walking by the kiosk nearby in Fantasyland, where across from 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and asking my dad if we could get like one more e-ticket, like we ride 20,000 Leagues, like just one more time before we go. I would give anything to go back to that time and revisit and recapture and experience again those moments that I had with my parents and my younger brother, because I think that's the reason why I'm here. It's not about the love I have of Disney as an adult and the things I enjoy about it now. I think it's those memories that were so formative that led me to this path that I continue to be blessed to go down. Taking that out of the equation, I'll pull the heart out of the equation. If there was a time I could go back to, is it a time? It could be any time. I didn't. We're sort of using the Wayback Machine. My age doesn't matter. I can go back to 55, 71, whenever I want.
Whenever you want.
I mean, as long as we're in sort of fantasy times, I think being at Disneyland, maybe not on that, horrific opening day, but a couple of weeks later, to be at Disneyland at the very beginning. And my caveat, as long as this is my dream, I'm going to take it where I want to. We all know that Walt used to walk the parks, and he used to do so relatively freely, especially before he was as well known on TV. And he would talk to kids, and you hear stories, and you see pictures of him talking to children, not at children, but getting down on their level and talking with them. If I could be in Disneyland in 1955 and have the opportunity to meet Walt Disney and thank Walt Disney and see his reaction and response and how he engaged with children in the way I think that we all want to imagine he did, I think that's probably when I would go back. And what about you? I got to turn the question around.
For me, it'd be random year, late 90s, kind of for the whole childhood component, because I can remember Mr. Toad's Wild Ride before it closed. Just was one of the late nights where Magic Kingdom didn't close till midnight, and just riding Mr. Toad over and over again, getting off and running back around, doing the other side, and then riding it and getting off and running and doing the other side. Probably made my parents ride it 6 or 7 times in a row. But yeah, just that's, to me, when I think Disney, it's the late 90s. It's the Disney of when my family really started going on a regular basis.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting question. I think that's one that I'll pose. Maybe I'll make that a question of the week this week and see when would people go back to if they could experience it for a day. All right, boy, girl. Last of the girls for now. Jennifer Kaufman, it is so very nice to see you. We keep missing each other in real life at the parks. It is great to see you tonight. What is your question for me? There you go.
I'm going to throw you a little softball. I went a couple of different ways, and I want to know your favorite and least favorite Christmas movie.
That is not a softball. That's a tough. Oh man, that is not.
It doesn't go deep. It doesn't go deep. It might be difficult to choose, but.
Oh man, there's so many, and again, I go back to my childhood. And the first one that came to mind has to be the one that I'm going with, and it's Year Without a Santa Claus. It is an emotional journey. I laugh, I cry, I laugh again, I sing along. I love the old Rankin Bass ones from the 70s. I think this was 73, 74, somewhere around there. I could watch, and if I wasn't so embarrassed, I would sing for you word for word the Snow Miser and Heat Miser song. But A Blue Christmas Without You and all those things. I love those, and I love the fact that they still show them every year. And 70, 89, however many decades later, they are still family favorites. And I like showing my kids them, and I like seeing, other young kids, still enjoying them to this day. So I'm going to turn it around. Softball to you. What is your favorite Christmas movie? Oh, and also Elf.
Well, that's actually, we watched Elf this afternoon, so that's why I was wondering. The Rankin Bass movies, we would always, once we got rid of cable and everything, we would miss them when they were airing on TV. So we bought that box set that has all of them. So we actually, my kids wanted to watch Rudolph, and so I said we'd start at the top. So we started at Santa Claus is Coming to Town, which they absolutely loved. So they don't know why they all look like toys instead of real people, but other than getting used to the claymation, they are learning to kind of watch those again, or watch those, I guess, for the first time really that they remember, other than Rudolph. But I don't know. Christmas Vacation is such a classic. That and Elf are the ones we have to watch every year. They're not necessarily, nostalgic or emotional, but they're just lighthearted. And sometimes, especially at Christmas being so hectic, that's what we need, is just a little escapism and just enjoy that time together. And it's going to sound cheesy, but just sit and laugh and be together. So that's kind of our go-to type of movie at Christmas. And I do love too there's sometimes in some of these movies there's the Disney connection. You got Thurl Ravenscroft, the voice of Thurl Ravenscroft in some of the films as well. So, all right. Let's see. Man, so many Michaels. All right, Michael L. I don't know if you want to give your last names out or not. So, Michael L., it is good to see you again. Just make sure you please stick to the 4 major food groups: candy canes, candy corns, and syrup when you ask your question.
Well, unfortunately, my question is not related to food, although maybe it should be because we haven't hit that yet. But given that we all seem to have an appreciation for the Disney parks, and Walt was clearly influenced by things he encountered in his life, whether it was the carousel, mechanical birds, trains, Marceline, what attraction, show, ride, not necessarily your favorite, has had the most profound effect on you?
Wow, that's a great question, and I've never been asked that. So, when you think about it, the profound effects, is it one that we have an emotional connection to? Excuse me, because we remember going as a kid. We enjoyed riding as a kid. Is it the one that prompts somebody to say, wow, I want to get into Imagineering. I love storytelling. Is it one that connects us to Walt? Is it one that we still have an emotional connection to? The one that has the greatest effect on me, I'm going to say the Tomorrowland Speedway, because when I finally get to be able to reach the pedals, it is going to be the best day ever. You know what? This is maybe a cheesy answer, but it's the monorail. There is something about the monorail for me. So when we came as kids, we were fortunate. We were able to stay at the Contemporary or the Polynesian. And I remember my parents letting me and my younger brother, or if I had a friend with me, sometimes we would, at the end of the night, just ride the monorail for hours. And sometimes, you used to be able to ride up in front, and you would talk to the cast members, who were probably a lot more patient with me than I thought, probably peppering them with questions all the time. Excuse me. But there was something so quintessential Disney to me about the monorails. It impacts me in a lot of ways because I have those memories of the excitement that you had when you stepped foot on the monorail. And if you go way back to one of my favorite shows, still, when we talk about the top smells of Walt Disney World, there's that monorail smell, and there's the sound of the doors, and the por favor manténganse, which is for most of us are only, the only Spanish words that we actually know. It's more than a transportation system. It is. I was always fascinated with the technology behind it, how it came to be, the story of Walt, seeing it and bringing it over to Disneyland. The possibilities of where the monorail could have gone had Walt's visions for Epcot actually come to pass. So I think for a lot of reasons, some of which are very personal, I think I'm going to stick with the monorail.
I like that. I think that's very, the heart of Disney.
Yeah, I mean, you see it, and it just, you don't. When you hear monorail, you don't think anywhere else other than, well, maybe some people think Vegas, but which they were the Disney monorails for a while. They had the Disney monorails. They had the old Mark IVs for a while. So, so I'll stay the monorails. All right, Tyler, you are up.
All right, so my question kind of follows Michael's a little bit with two-parter. What franchise do you feel is underrepresented or not represented in the parks? And how would you bring that franchise into the parks, be it a ride, stage show, restaurant, something like that?
So I've mentioned it, earlier about my idea for my Tron attraction, the end of line club up on the second floor. I know for a while another Tron movie had been green lit. I believe that is now black lit or not lit or unlit or just red lit, whatever they do. I still don't believe that franchise has been completely exhausted. I know the animated TV series was really popular for a while. I think there is still life left in that as we continue to see, going back to the earlier questions, some of these properties being rebooted, revitalized, reimagined. However, I think that's one that I would really like to see. So I'll ask you, is there something that you would like to see, a film that you would like to see brought into now? And I'm assuming you're talking only Disney, not Marvel and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah, Disney, Pixar, IP, and for me it would be something related to WALL-E.
Brother, yeah, I would hug you if I could, because that's exactly where else I would have gone.
Yeah, I don't know how I would incorporate it, be it a show or a classic attraction, but I feel it's a great movie and obviously just not represented at all anywhere in the parks.
And if you look on the shelves behind me, I love WALL-E. I think it's a beautiful story. I think it's one of the best told stories because it's able to be told primarily in the first two acts of the film without really any dialogue being spoken. I think that speaks volumes to the writing and the artists and the storytelling that they were able to do with that. So I agree with you. I would love to see WALL-E in the parks. I think it is a beautiful film. I think it's a well-told film, and I think it's a very emotional film, for characters that are not human characters. I think there's a lot of emotion, especially in the very first part. So I dig it. I like that. I knew I liked you. Sean, you are next in the Hollywood Squares box or Brady Bunch box, however you want to envision it.
Well, Lou, since we've gone just about 35 minutes without talking about food.
Finally!
And I am smelling dinner cooking in the background. What public non-Disney World restaurant would you go to eat at right now?
Oh, what non-Disney public restaurant would I go to eat at right now? Man, I'm always hungry. So as you said that, My mind went right to Mexican for some reason, which is odd because usually I could just eat sushi 24/7. And there is a restaurant not far from Disney property. Actually, it's very close to Pandora, as it were, called Chewy's, which is great Mexican food. But I will see. I'm going to see what I'm doing here. I'm giving you two answers. I would go to my secret sushi spot and just stick it to the man. And I love, love, love Japanese food. And I could eat sushi every day if I could afford to eat sushi every day. And it's interesting because I think there's a lot of people that don't really go because there's no need to. Excuse me. Outside the bubble, especially with so many new restaurants in Disney Springs. Asian food. I love Morimoto. Art Smith's Homecoming is redonkulously good, and man, he's a nice guy. Like, he's just a nice guy, and he's there all the time. And the fried chicken. But yeah, I mean, I really don't, I don't get out much. But yeah, those are two of the things that I would usually like to go out, and I'm always down for sushi. I am always down for sushi. So, let's see. Well, let's move over to some of the Michaels. Michael R. in your car is coming to us live from the inside of your Honda Accord.
Toyota Yaris, actually.
Hey, well, that was close.
Mine is Run Disney related because I'm getting ready to run my very first Run Disney, and it's a half in like a month, in like a month and a couple days. And my question is, because I know you go to as many of the Run Disney events as you can, and I know you've run before, haven't you?
Run is a relative term, Mike. I have participated in my first and only half marathon was in 2008, and I've done a lot of the 5K, and I continue to do the 5Ks during marathon weekend and some of the other events as well. But
like me, like when you say run, I put run in bunny ears when I tell people I'm doing it. Because as of the little bit of training that I have done, I'm at like an 11-minute mile right now, so I'm comfortable. Like, I think race day adrenaline, I'll be able to knock off a few seconds off of that, and I'll be okay. But my question is, of all the Run Disney events you've either run or participated in, or that you've been to with the running team and all of that, do you have a favorite like Run Disney moment?
So, and Luke Lawson is here, and he's a member of the running team. Nikki is here. She's a runner. I know some of the other guys are runners. They would probably be able to handle the running parts of that question better. But I will tell you, and I hope, man, that you feel the same way. There is nothing like, and Nikki and Luke, you guys can agree or disagree. There is nothing like that very first event. Your adrenaline is pumping. You're so excited. You can't sleep, not just because you're excited, but because you can't sleep because you have to get up to 2 o'clock in the morning to go to Epcot. But and this is the reason why I did it once. Excuse me, and only once, and only at Disney was, I think nobody does it like Disney. You get out there and the adrenaline gets you going, and the characters and the music and running through the parks are the thing that keeps you going. And listen, man, I still believe in my heart of hearts that the most difficult part of running a Run Disney or any other race is signing up. I think once you do that and you put those feet on the starting line, you have already accomplished 90% of what you need to do. The excitement, the enthusiasm, and I will tell you, the members of the WDW running team will help you get through it. They will walk with you. They will jog with you, walk with you. They will cry with you. They will, help you get through it. And I know, and I see you guys nodding your heads because I've heard this over and over again. Whether you're a member of the team or not, you guys meet and pick up people along the way and help them through, and that's what being a team is all about. But for me, there was nothing like that first race because I had no idea what to expect. Look at it. This body is not made for running. This body is made for eating.
Mine is not either. So,
right, so
when I tell people I was doing a half marathon, they kind of look at me and they're like, really?
Yeah, but use that, man. Listen, the reason why I the reason why I participated in my first marathon was because when I said on my prior show that I was going to do it, my co-host laughed at me. And I'm like, okay, buddy, you don't think I can do it? Like, I was like, game on, brother. And I did it not for him, but I really did so I could prove it and prove it to myself that I could do it. And I mean it sincerely. If you're listening and are thinking about it, if Lou Mangello can finish a half marathon, anybody can finish a half marathon. I have tiny little, tiny little legs. So, and if you're running 11-minute miles, you've got this, man.
Right. I'm doing like a run walk. I think I did it the other day. The first time I ever did it was I did like a 14, and I got worried. And then like as I've gone, I've knocked it down to like 11. I've gotten to where I can really, get to average about 11 minutes right now. So I guess follow-up question is, I'm going to be joining the running team. I might have to pick up my stuff from you like race day, but I don't know how fast the mail will get here by that time. But I'm going to be joining the running team before, even if I don't get my stuff. I'm going to be an official part of the running team by race day, marathon weekend.
Awesome, brother. I appreciate it. And if you who are listening want to find out more or be part of the team, we do it for fun and to help each other and to raise money for the Make-A-Wish Foundation of America. You can visit wdwradio.com/running. Let's move over to Chris A. in your sling. Hope you are feeling better. What is your question?
Unmuted there. Also, take donuts when you run.
Yes. Good advice.
Thank you. So I've got a two-part. Going back into the Wayback Machine. Let's say from like the opening of Walt Disney World, so we're not letting you go all the way back. What is maybe one of the interviews of someone that you missed, perhaps because they passed away? And what's maybe one of the restaurant reviews you wish you could have done?
So the first question's easy, and I will hopefully never make this mistake again. It wasn't a mistake. It just the way it happened. I had finally, after, and this is going back to probably 2000, and I don't remember what year, maybe 2006 or so. I don't remember what year he passed. But I had finally tracked down Thurl Ravenscroft, and he was being cared for. I believe he was either at home or something. But I'd finally gotten to him and his person and his caregiver, and we had worked out a time for an interview. So maybe it was 2005, because I think it was for the first show that I was doing. And we had scheduled it for like 3 weeks away, and he passed away in the meantime. And, obviously I was sad that he passed because I was an admirer of his work. The interview was really more for me as a fan than than the show. So I'll never let that happen again. I'll never schedule interviews that far out. And then the second part of the question was, which one?
Like a restaurant review, like that they've, no longer have around that you could have reviewed.
Oh, a restaurant review I wish I could have done.
Top of the world, 1970s.
So that's the first thing I went to. It's something like the Top of the World Supper Club, like when Mel Torme was there, and it was lots of reds and oranges and yellows. Because I think it was such a, it was the vacation kingdom of the world, and that was one of the experiences that was part of that. Adults, after the park time with the kids was over, the kids, like me, went downstairs to the Fiesta Fun Center and played video games and watched a movie and ate down there, and the adults went upstairs to the Top of the World Supper Club and had the A-ish entertainers up there, and there was music and dancing. So I love me some California Grill, don't get me wrong, but that's probably where I would go. Hal, welcome to the show. Thanks for being part of the nation. Do you have a question this evening? And I think Hal is frozen. So Hal, if you pop back on, I will come back to you. I think, have I gotten everybody else except Luke Lawson? Michael, you got a question? So many Michaels, I lose track.
Yeah, I do, Lou. If you want sushi, come to Bistro near Chicago. I don't know if Nikki's near there. It's really good. But anyways, that new thing I've been reading about lately, that express between the parks bus, behind the scenes bus. You know anything else about that?
It's very new. I haven't seen it. I don't know a lot about it, but from what I understand, it's it's express bus service, which is something that it's an add-on as opposed to the free transportation throughout the parks. If I remember correctly, and forgive me if the numbers are wrong, I believe it's $15 a day, or you can get a multi-day pass, for maybe $25. Excuse me. But I believe it's almost like having a shuttle service. They pick you up at the parks and resorts, and they take you through and to some of the backstage areas so you actually get into the parks faster. So, for example, if you're going to Magic Kingdom, instead of going outside by the water, walking through security, going through the front gate, they would bring you around back through sort of where the cast member parking is, obviously validate your tickets, whatnot, and then let you in through some of the backstage areas that way, which will obviously save you a lot of time, a lot of walking around as well. I just took a quick look. So it looks like that's where you enter in Magic Kingdom. In Epcot, you enter on the east side of Spaceship Earth over at Hollywood Studios in that backstage area by Rock and Roller Coaster, that courtyard area where they used to use for ESPN the weekends. May you rest in peace. And over at Animal Kingdom, and I've gone into this entrance before, you enter over by Kilimanjaro Safari. So if you're looking at Kilimanjaro Safari and look to the left, there's a cast member backstage area. There's actually a large parking lot back there for cast. So that's where they pick you up and drop you off. And I believe the buses run on a regular schedule. I think they run in 30-minute or so intervals, and this is something that you can add on to your ticket once you get there. Just by a quick show of hands, is that something that interests you, appeals to you at $15 a day for being able to save some of that time going to the backstage areas and having that bus service? Got 1, 2, couple of no's. There's a 3.
Yeah.
There's a thumbs down. There's a sort of on the fence. What if I told you that it was, let me give you the scenario. It's August 15th. It is 182 degrees outside, and there's an hour-long wait for the bus. Now, all of a sudden, the smiles come. And I think that's where it's going to potentially come into play, is when during some of the busier times, maybe sort of the hotter times, and maybe some of the people who have a limited amount of time and want to try and maximize their time. This is something, obviously, that is probably in its initial testing phase. Who knows if this is going to, if the express bus service is going to stay around forever. So I think we have one more person, right? One more person. Last question. Luke Lawson, excuse me, member of the aforementioned WDW Radio running team, a darn nice guy, and I dig the fact that you always rock the different costumes when you run as well.
Yeah, thanks, Lou. I got a couple of really good ones here for the next month. Just finished them up. Pretty stoked about them. So
favorite. Well, I'm gonna turn it around. Favorite costume you ever ran in?
It's got to be my Rufio costume. I loved it. But the Peter Pan Boba Fett mashup was pretty good too.
And for those people, because Rufio is a little bit more of an obscure character.
Yeah, Rufio is in Hook. Steven Spielberg's Hook with Dustin Hoffman, Robin Williams. He's a lost boy, and he is pretty awesome.
Sweet. All right, man. What is your last question for the evening?
All right, Lou, I want to talk about what makes Disney super magical, and that's the people. So I am a former cast member myself, and I want to know, what is your most memorable cast member interaction?
It's like picking your favorite child, man. Gosh, there are so many. And I'm thinking back to times that I went with my parents and times that I went with my wife, and then going with my kids and being there alone or being with friends, or even first times I've been out in Disneyland. So I was hesitant to say this one because it's not an everyday experience, but I was friends with a cast member who, when I was living in New Jersey and I came down with my daughter and my son, who was very, very young, she says, hey, when you come down and if you're going to be in Magic Kingdom on such and such day, excuse me, come behind the castle 10 minutes before the show is over and just tell them that you're there and that I sent you. I said, okay. I had no idea what to expect or anything. I go there. I say that, I'm Lou Mangello and so sent me. And the castle stage show had just ended, and she opens the door and we walk in, and there's got to be 30 characters standing there in a room and us. And I get choked up again. I remember, because I didn't tell my wife. Obviously, my daughter was very young. She was probably, 3-4 years old, which if I could just freeze her at that age, it would have been awesome. And we walked in and they said, oh, Princess Marion and Prince Nicholas. And we're all like agape and everybody's crying and she just can't believe it. And I'm trying to take pictures and my hands are shaking because I see the expression on my kid's face of just utter joy. And my wife just can't believe that this is happening and that somebody was kind enough to make that happen for us. Now, the downside to that is that every time we went back to Disney World after, my daughter's like, so when am I going to go meet all the characters again? And I'm like, no. That was a one-time only kind of thing. And she just did it out of the goodness of her heart. She did that just as, something that she knew that my family would always remember. And I will obviously never, ever, I'll never forget that. I'll never forget the expression on my kids' faces. And I was hesitant to tell that story because I think that happens every day, multiple times, over and over again. And it's not something that's a special opportunity like that. It happens when a cast member does something special for a child or makes something right that might have gone wrong or fixes something or helps somebody, or just the way that they interact. As somebody who goes to the parks and has seen and done, I've done all the attractions, I've done all the shows. I watch a lot of the cast member interactions. And those are still the things that get me choked up. I present a lot, and I use a lot of Disney in my presentations. And one of the things I talk about is customer service. And I have a picture of a security officer at the front gates of the Magic Kingdom, standing by one of the trees, and on the ledge next to the tree is a little girl, maybe 4 or 5 years old, dressed like Cinderella. And the picture I have is of the cast member with an autograph book, and it looks like he's taking it from her, but actually what he's doing is presenting it to her. And he says to this little girl, and this happens all the time, he says, and I'm paraphrasing, I heard that you were coming. I'm so excited that you're here. Princess, would you sign my autograph book? Like that kid and those parents are going to remember that moment more than anything else they do, see, and yes, eat when they go to that park. That is the story that's going to bring them and their friends back over and over and over again. It's not it's not the shows, it's not the environment. It really is, the people that make the dream a reality. It's those kind of interactions that makes this place, to use your word, it makes this place as special as it is. It's the reason why I am here. It's the reason why I took that scary journey from New Jersey to Florida in my Honda Odyssey with no plan and no direction and no idea how I was going to make it, because of the memories I had with my parents as a kid, because of the cast members that make it and continue to make it. I am amazed still every day at the interactions that I have with cast members, and ones that I see and hear from people like you on the show and in voicemail and on Twitter, on Facebook, and at Meets of the Month and things like that. So I really do appreciate them. And Luke, as a former cast member, I appreciate that from you as well. Let's see. I have one last question, which was a write-in. She unfortunately could not make it in this evening, and she had two questions. I will take. Let's see. What one attraction, show, or movie would you want Walt to see today? The easy answer, I think the one that we always go to, and I always go to, is Epcot, to see two things. To see his reaction and how his vision compares or contrasts with what was made, and to get maybe a better idea as watching him walk the grounds of Epcot, to see how different it was from what he had in his mind when he stared up at the ceiling tiles in the hospital before he passed. I think I'd also like to take him over to I'd also like to take him to Kilimanjaro Safari, because he loved animals and he always wanted to have live animals in the park. And I might as well answer, if I could take him to what movie would I want Walt to see today? Wow, I don't know. What movie would I want Walt to see today? All right, I'm going to quickly turn that around to you. Anybody? What movie would you like Walt to see today?
Meet the Robinsons.
Oh, I love it, Terry. I love that answer. Anybody else? You could say Tron. That's fine.
The live action Jungle Book. I mean, I think he would really love the innovation that happened with that. I mean, how realistic that animation was.
Awesome.
I've got kind of a weird one. How about saving Mr. Banks so he can see how we see him?
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, it'll be interesting to watch him and his reactions to that movie, and how much, I'd be curious, because I think a lot of that, yes, there's some poetic license in there, but because you had guys like Richard Sherman really playing a part in the development of that, and I think there's probably I'm sure he would want some assurances that certain things would have to be as close to how they happened as possible. So, it would be interesting to sit with Walt and a bag of peanuts and get on the couch and watch Saving Mr. Banks. So, guys, this was a lot of fun. I really appreciate it, and hopefully I was able to answer in the best way possible all of your questions. I appreciate you not just listening to the show, but being part of the Nation family, and that's really what you are. And the fact that you show your love and support, and you show up on these calls every month means a great deal to me. I know hopefully I will see you guys at a meet of the month and or some Run Disney races coming very soon. Thank you all once again. I am seeing Michael in the background has is that your Haunted Mansion changing portrait? I love being able to do these calls on video, because normally when I do the live broadcast on Wednesdays, you guys get to see me. I don't get to see you, but I love this format. Excuse me. I love you guys. If you who are listening wants to be part of the Nation family, you can visit wdwradio.com/support. Thank you guys so very much, and I look forward to seeing you again next month.
Bye.
It's time for our Walt Disney World Trivia Question of the Week, where I invite you to test your knowledge of Walt Disney World history, or see how well you pay attention to the details in the parks. Sometimes in what you see, sometimes in what you hear. And if you think you know the answer, you can enter via email or our online form for a chance to win a Disney prize package. Before we get to this week's question, let's go back, review last week's, and select our winner. So last week we were looking at the history of Christmas being celebrated in Walt Disney World and in Disneyland, and one of the things we talked about was the old Country Bear Christmas special, where in that show all the characters dressed in their holiday best and sang different songs about Christmas and New Year, and one of my favorite characters in particular wore a very unique costume, and your question was to tell me, in the Country Bear Christmas special, Big Al appeared dressed as what? And again, thanks to the more than 1,000 of you that entered, got this one that correct, and knew or remembered that Big Al dressed as Baby New Year. Now, I also asked you a bonus question for an additional prize, and I said, what Disney animated feature films open or close with the scene of Christmas? And again, so many of you entered, got this one correct, shared some very interesting answers as well. I was looking for things like Lady and the Tramp, Toy Story, Lilo and Stitch, where in the closing credits there's a scene from Christmas there. I took all of the correct entries, randomly selected one, and again, last week you were playing for the 102 Ways to Save Money for an at Walt Disney World book, all 7 of my virtual audio walking tours of the park, both of which you can find at WDWRadio.com in the shop, a WDW Radio Magic Band cover, some stickers, and the insulated hot and cold travel mug. And last week's winner, randomly selected, is Eric Davison. So Eric, congratulations. You entered via the forum. I have your shipping information. I will get your prize package out to you right away. If you played last week and didn't win, that's okay, because here's your next chance to enter in this week's Walt Disney World Trivia Challenge. So it's been way too long since I had a food-related trivia question, and one of my favorite places to eat in the parks, actually really, they're like children, they're all my favorites, but I'll call out this one, is the 50s Primetime Cafe over at the Disney MGM Star Wars Studios, where they offer some real sort of authentic home cooking, but without the family arguments sometimes, using recipes from quote-unquote family members. So if you look at the menu at 50's Primetime Cafe, the menu was inspired or brought to you by some of Mom and the family's different members. So tell me, whose recipe does Mom use for the golden and oh so very delicious fried chicken? Right? So tell me, what family members' recipes does Mom use for the golden fried chicken at 50's Primetime Cafe? You have until Sunday, December 11th at 11:59 p.m. to enter via email to contest@WDWRadio.com. Better yet, go to this week's show notes at WDWRadio.com. Click on the podcast. If you use the form there, you can give me your shipping information, and I will get your prize package out to you right away. And again, this week you're playing for the book, all 7 audio tours, a Magic Band cover, stickers, and I'm going to throw in, again, a hot and cold travel mug. And just because it's the holidays, and because now I want fried chicken, also, when you fill out the form, give me your shirt size, because I will also send you a WDW Radio t-shirt. So good luck, and have fun. That's going to do it for this week's show. Thank you again so very much for taking the time to tune in this and every week. I also want to thank some of the new members of the WDW Radio Nation family, including David Iwanowski, Carrie Brosmer, Tara Weaver-Hawley, and Keith Groshans. I sincerely appreciate you and the love and the support. And if you want to not only help the show, but also get exclusive rewards every single month, including scavenger hunts from the parks, access to our private Facebook group, personalized Magic Band covers, logo gear, backpacks, t-shirts, exclusive live video group calls like we did this week, and lots more. You can find out more and join the nation by visiting WDWRadio.com/support. Again, it's completely optional. A great way for you to help show your support for the show. And also don't forget that a portion of the proceeds of your contributions will go to the Dream Team Project to benefit the Make-A-Wish Foundation of America. All right, just a couple of quick announcements this week. Again, the purge of my Disney collection and soon my Star Wars collection, just in time for Rogue One, is going on eBay over at WDWRadio.com/eBay. I am purging a lot of my personal collection of everything from cast member materials to souvenir guides, maps, attraction scripts, theme park merchandise, books, pins, artwork, vinylmations, one-of-a-kind collectibles, and more. New auctions begin and end every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Again, it's WDWRadio.com/eBay. While you're on the WDWRadio.com, please be sure and check out our amazing team of blog writers. Subscribe to our newsletter, and please also join me every Wednesday night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern for WDW Radio Live, where I do live video broadcasts on Facebook, either from the home studio, oftentimes, like I'm going to do tonight, from the parks, because as much as I love creating content and pushing it out to you this way via the podcast, I love being able to interact with you guys live, real time. Again, it's 7:30 p.m. Eastern at facebook.com/WDW Radio. Also, I love hearing from you. So if you have a question you want answered on the air, you can email me, lou@wdwradio.com, or call the voicemail, be heard on the air at 407-900-9391. And as much as I love connecting with you guys online, nothing beats a handshake and a hug. Our next meet of the month is going to be, as always, over Marathon Weekend. It's going to be Saturday, December 7th. Once again, back at the Tomorrowland Terrace, where we've been doing it for the past 8-9 years or so. Usually starts around 1 p.m. I will create the event over at facebook.com/WDW Radio. Anyone and everyone, as always, is invited. Come alone, bring the family. It is obviously completely free and open to everybody, and I'd love to have a chance to meet you, whether you are running or cheering or just happen to be in the parks that weekend. You can also check out the events page for other events, including our Double Dip cruise to Castaway Cay next year, June 25th through the 30th on the Disney Dream. 5 nights, 2 stops at Castaway Cay. You can also find out more by visiting wdwradio.com/2017 cruise. We have other events coming up in the summer of 2017. We'll be at D23 Expo. Again, stay tuned to the Facebook page and our newsletter to get updates as they come out. I'll also have other events, not necessarily in Disney parks, but on the road as I travel to speak at conferences and schools. And if I can maybe help either come speak to you, your business, your school, or work with you to help turn your passion into your profession with either personal mentoring or group coaching and help you do what you love full time, please go and visit LouMongello.com. Thanks as always to Mouse Fan Travel, my official and recommended and favorite all-time travel provider, not just because of the prices they give, but really it is about the service. They take care of you as if they were taking care of their own family, assuming it was a family member that they actually liked, but they would take care of you with that same level of love and care and attention and service, and it all comes at no cost to you. Visit them at mousefantravel.com, and then go visit little Timmy Foster at celebrationspress.com so you can subscribe to Celebrations Magazine. And as always, my friends, and you are my friend, whether we have met yet or not. All I ask is that if you like the show, please help spread the word. Let your friends know about it. Tweet out that you're listening. Share links to your favorite episodes over on Facebook or in your pages or groups. And please take a minute to rate and review the show over on iTunes. Thanks to you, we have more than 1,200 5-star reviews. Please keep them coming. I want to thank some recent reviewers like Brownies20, who said, "This is family fun. Lou, thanks so much for the podcast." And I love this. "The kids and I listen together here in Minnesota and reminisce about our trips to Disney World. That's exactly why I do it. That's exactly what I hope to have, is that you guys listen together as a family." Tangy16 says, "Love the Lou. Love listening to the podcast. It really ups the geek factor, not the Greek factor, which is a good thing." She says, I've been binge listening. I speak for a living. I've been binge listening. It's going to take forever to listen to them all." Reagan Phelps says, "Love this podcast. Again, my dad and I have been listening since it started. It never disappoints. So engaging, informational, and useful. 10 out of 10 recommended." And Elachak says, "Fantastic Disney World trivia and planning info. She loves the positive and optimistic attitude. We've really created a community of like-minded people who really do believe that there is a great, big, beautiful tomorrow shining at the everyday." Thank you again so much. If you want to leave a review for the show, just search for WDW Radio on iTunes or visit wdwradio.com/iTunes. It'll give you instructions and take you right there. And once again, my biggest and sincerest thanks. If I could hug you, I would, to show how much I appreciate you for taking the time to tune in. I know how valuable your time is, especially during the holiday time of year. There's so much going on, and the fact that you include me in that and you share it with me means a lot. And I hope that you, especially as we start to look to 2017 and turn the page to a new chapter, and there's a whole new world of opportunity ahead. And, as you start to move into the new year and people talk about, goals or resolutions, sometimes you don't have to have that specific thing or place that you want to do or get to, because sometimes along the way is where you find the unexpected and the wonderful things really happen. So enjoy the journey as it happens, and you will find your way. And as Walt said, always keep moving forward. Thank you for just being you and listening. I sincerely appreciate it. I hope that you have the best day, the best week, the best month, the best year ever. See ya.
Hey, Lou, calling from the Harambe Marketplace. Life is doing good on Friday. Lily and Madeline are having a great time here in Disney World and just enjoying her birthday time. Hope you're having a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hey, Lou, it's Jim Meeker calling you from the park. It is Mickey's very merry Christmas party. We're having an awesome time just waiting for the show, the fireworks, and the parade. And here's Madeline.
And I'm celebrating my 10th birthday here. And I'm tired and hungry.
It's been a long day at Disney, but we're enjoying being here and wish you were here, Lou. Talk to you later. Bye.
Hi, Lou. This is Tom Morris, calling from Clinton, Tennessee. We're going to be heading down to the parks in about 10 days, and I was loving your podcast this week about moments in Disney history we'd love to be at, and I have to say one that I think would just be the perfect, just fly-on-the-wall moment would be in the recording session that Robin Williams did for the Genie for Aladdin. They say it was so funny, everyone was on the floor laughing, and he was risking for hours at the end. So that would be one I'd have to add to my list along some of the ones you said. And also, I think it'd be interesting to be in the two pitches that didn't go through, which was one, the Disney's America Park meetings. Because I don't know how far that went into existence. And the other one I was really interested in the pitch for what was supposed to be a ride at the land called the Great Movie Ride, and how the pitch turned into an entire park. Anyway, thanks again for the show. It's great to listen to as we get ready for our trip to Walt Disney World.
You've got a friend in me. Yeah. Gringos come out to socialize.
As the moon shines high over the dead oak tree,
Scoops a ride for the midnight spree.
Creepy creeps with eerie eyes
Start to shriek and harmonize. Gringos come out to socialize.